Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas visiting with you today. And we've got Sandy Miller from the Mennonite Relief Auction, Relief Sale and Auction. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. You're kind of new in your role. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the Mennonite Relief Sale?
I'm currently this year's chairman of the 53rd Ohio Mennonite Relief Sale, which is going to be held the first Saturday in August, which is actually August the 4th, but we also open up on Friday evening the 3rd as well.
There might be somebody who is not familiar with what this is, although I can't imagine who that person is. But for someone maybe who's new in town, tell us what we can expect to find at the Mennonite Relief Sale this year.
Well, the Ohio Mennonite Relief Sale was created in order to raise funds for benefit disaster, for the relief and community, for developments around the world. So we're in different areas of the world. And so this is just one aspect of how they raise funds for that. So we actually start on Friday evening around 4 p.m., and we have the booths opened up, the food concession stands are opened up, and we also have a silent auction that happens Friday evening as well. And then we also have a volleyball tournament and a cornhole tournament that evening that people can come and either watch or participate in if they have a team. It's another way we do some fundraising. And then at 7 p.m. on Friday evening, we have free music. It's a free music concert. This year, John Schmid, our local artist, he will be singing there for about an hour, hour and a half. It's a nice little program that we have for that.
It is. Go ahead. Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I started to interrupt you. You take it from there. What's going on Saturday?
Well, on Saturday we open at 7 a.m. and we have the Fuel Up for Sale Day breakfast, and people can come and they have pancakes and sausage and I think sausage gravy over biscuits and a bunch of breakfast foods. Then at 8 a.m. the actual auction opens up. We have the food stands, the crafts, the booths. And then you can take a look at the auction displays as well. 8 a.m. we also have a 5K run and walk for relief. And at 9 o'clock, then the wood and tool auction begins. And at 9:30, we have the quilt auction that starts. And this year, we started back. We had skipped a year, but this year at 10:30, we're going to have a children's auction as well, where the kids get to bid on toys and stuff. So.
I absolutely love that you get kids started at an early age with getting the auction bug. How fun is that? Now, tell us, let's start with the children's auction. How does that operate? What kinds of things do you have? And even the children are given little paddles, or how do they do it?
Most of the children will end up using their parents' bid card numbers, and we ask that the parents sit with the children so they don't get a little too rambunctious with what they want to buy. But it is overseen by that, and so the kids will sit there, and there's toys ranging from age 2 to 14, 15-year-old toys, and they just sit there, and if they pick out a toy or two and their parents said yes, then they'll just keep bidding. And this year, as a neat added feature, we have a young gentleman who I think is about 16 or 17 years old, who is actually going to be the auctioneer for the kids' auction. So it'll be really fun this year is to just hear that all the young folks getting involved in that. So yeah,
and think about it. Really, it takes a bit of self-control to participate in an auction, because that you start just wanting to win. You just want to throw that number up over and over again until you finally win. But to learn at an early age as a child that I've got this much that I can spend and I will not go over it, but they're also learning to be generous and to share because they know it's going for a good cause at the same time. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, you're starting this with children at a very early age.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we do, we do kind of, or I should say the people that are involved with this are very much aware that this is benefiting. So maybe they overpay for something, but it's really going towards a good cause. And so there isn't that stigma out there. I'm trying to get the best deal for the lowest price. And that's
right.
The nice thing is that all the money does go to a good cause. The proceeds all go, all the volunteers that help there, none of us get paid for doing this. And so, it's a lot of money that we raise for that. And to instill that in the kids at a young age is just really neat. And yet, yes, I'm sure there are limits for some of these parents to say, okay, you really can't spend $100 on this $5 toy. But at the same time, I know a lot of parents come in there and say, this is a cause that we support, and it's okay. And
that's right.
To do that.
That's right. Go ahead and overspend a little bit in this case. What will be available at the wood auction? Because these are amazing things, mostly handmade. Let's talk about them.
Yes, a lot, not a lot, but I guess a fair amount of the wood part of the auction is donated by local craftsmen from the area. And, excuse me, I know there's going to be a bed there, a curio cabinet, some rustic wood shelf, tables with leaves, recliners, chairs, stands like plant stands and nightstands and all of that. And so that's just a little bit of a taste of, of what we are going to have. Then at the tool part of that, which is kind of intermingled with the wood, there is drills and hammers and your tape measures. And then we have all the fun stuff like the marble rollers and the cornhole sets and pictures and silverware chests and a folding lifetime bench. And, and the kind clock and small decorative items that we also have. And then we also have, during that auction, is larger items that we sell at a specific time. So if there was somebody that's interested in that, they know when it's going to get sold. And so we have a 15-passenger van this year, a wooden shed, and let me look here, I think.
So some of those larger items, then, will there be a program that we know exactly what time those will be going up for auction? Because I would think there would be people who would want to make sure they didn't miss out on that.
Yes, in the program that we give out, everybody that comes past the information booth can pick up a program. It lists all the items that are going to be auctioned off, and then it has the special times for those special items, whether it's 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Okay. Then they'll know exactly when those items are going to be selling. Because we also have a garage door, an overhead garage door that's going to be sold as well.
Oh, okay. Garage doors are kind of the thing now, aren't they? Garage doors have become much more than garage doors lately. Tell us about the one you're going to be auctioning off.
Well, this is from Magic Garage Door, what it's coming in at. And they basically, it's just going to be up there, but if obviously the size or the style or whatever isn't what they want, the company that's donating it will allow so much, and then the person has to pay above and beyond that if it's a really fancy version or whatever. So,
I know these
but at
days
least it gives them the opportunity to have that. So
very, very nice. Yes, because like the carriage house look, the barn door look, there's just all kinds of cool things to do with garage doors now that never were before. So that's very cool. One of the things that I look forward to every year is the quilt auction. Tell me, what can we look forward to this time?
Well, again, we get quilts from all over. It just seems like people just continuously bring the comforts and the quilts and the wall hangings in, which is really neat. We actually have a comfort and a wall hanging, a comfort and a quilt that is donated this year, which I think was pretty neat. It was a lady who was a recipient of the service that MCC, which is the Mennonite Central Committee, which is what all this money goes towards. They were actually a recipient of people working through the SWAP program, and she had some repair work done on her house when disaster struck.
Wow.
And she was so touched by this that she ended up piecing and quilting a quilt and a comfort together, and she this year is donating that to MCC as her way of paying back for what they did for her. And so we're anxious this year to see how much those two items will bring, as it's a kind of pay it forward.
Absolutely. The quilts each year are absolutely magnificent. Can you tell me who makes these? Where do they come from?
These ladies around here just sit and who love to quilt. It's mostly individuals, or maybe there's group organizations like women's fellowships at the churches, or it could be just a quilt shop. It could be anybody, but it's mostly individuals who love to quilt who want to do this because they have a heart for what MCC is doing. Mm-hmm. And so it is their way of contributing. So we just have a lot of different styles and designs and colors, and it's just really neat to see the creativity that these ladies come up with.
Absolutely. And they can be, perhaps you don't need another quilt for your beds, but these make beautiful wall hangings or tablecloths or table runners or placemats. They're just all sizes and shapes and can be used for a variety of uses, yes?
Correct. And there's always something out there for somebody, for something. It doesn't necessarily, you think, oh, goodness, it's another quilt, or I have to put it on a quilt rack because I don't have a place to put it on my bed. But there are other options out there that you can get this beautiful stitching and handwork done in other various forms.
And one of a kind. Think about it. It's your opportunity to own a one of a kind, beautifully handmade quilt. And they are always magnificent. Can you remember maybe one was like a record breaker going back? What do these bring in? They do tend to command a pretty large price tag, don't they?
They do. And we actually had one, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago. A very, very young lady in the community who was well known. She passed away from cancer. And so the ladies from her church made a quilt in her honor, and that quilt was very pretty, had a very sentimental value, and it brought $10,000.
$10,000 for relief around the world. Oh, my goodness, from one quilt. Oh, my gosh. Talk about paying it forward. That's awesome.
Yes, I know.
That's amazing. You've said the word MCC a couple of times. What does that stand for?
Mennonite Central Committee.
Mm-hmm. And what does that Mennonite Central Committee do the rest of the year, Sandy?
Well, basically, they are overseen. So we have many different Mennonite relief sales. So we are one of a number of ones that are, they're in other states as well, that are just raising money. And they have volunteers who do service work for several years, or maybe a year, or it could be, we have a couple in our church that I think was close to 30 years who did MCC work all around the world, wherever they were needed in different capacities. And so these people are just loving on these people, and they are wanting to serve them in whatever way the needs are in a particular country, whether it's disaster relief, or whether it's just teaching them a trade that they can be self-sustaining to support their families. It could be just hygiene kits. It could be digging a well in a community where they have to walk miles for water every day.
Yes.
It is just encompasses a bunch of things. And so they are never without something to do. Let's put it that way.
And so that is the central committee that's overseeing all of these. Any idea of how ours does compare? I know it's not good to compare, but how do we do? How do we compare to other relief sales?
We actually, in Ohio, it's amazing. I'm not sure all the specific numbers, but we are actually one of the top, I think it's like the top 3 or the top 5 that bring in the most money.
I'm just not surprised.
A small community.
It's amazing. I'm not surprised, because could you get another person there? It is unbelievable how crowded it is. First of all, you just think, wow, I confess to you, I thought everybody that weekend was up in Canton at the Hall of Fame activities, but not so. There were so many people at the Mennonite Relief Sale and Auction, and just really not to be missed. It was amazing to me what a big deal this was. I'm looking at the clock, Sandy. We need to take a very short break. We're going to be back and talking about the good work that you're doing after these words. You're listening to Our Community.